Hello, and welcome to the Animated Doctor Podcast, where we think bow ties are very cool. My name is Morgan.
I'm Kitty, and I do not agree with the bow tie statement.
I'm Brandon, and I do. And I was not told that that was going to be the new tagline.
Today, we are talking about happy things,
Oh.
continue with our favorite episodes, and Brandon picked this one because he hates us.
Pretty much. That's the consensus.
Brandon, what episode did we watch?
We watched Midnight,
Why?
because it's my favorite. And I think that to me, it stands out in all of the canon as being perhaps one of the most literary. And I think there are other moments that become literary. We have the Dickens episode early on. Like there's these moments where it's clear that the writers of Doctor Who and the producers have a respect for British literature. And so this episode sticks out to me, though, as being one of the most literary and also pushing the boundaries on what an episode of Doctor Who should be like.
Okay.
I think it's because you hate puppies and kittens and sunshine.
I also hate those. Yes.
Can you give us a brief synopsis?
Yeah, so in this episode, Donna and the Doctor have gone on a resort trip, a vacation, and he leaves Donna at the resort. He wants her to come with him to go see
The Emerald.
his sapphires,
Sapphires.
sapphires that are not sapphires, right? So it's a sapphire waterfall, and she doesn't want to. She just wants to stay in the spa on this very dangerous planet where the sun's light kills anything living, anything.
Exotonic.
Yeah, that's what they call it, exotonic. But she's in a safe place, right? So he gets on this little train. It's going to take them across the planet's surface to this miraculous natural phenomenon. And then while on the train, they take a detour, which may or may not be relevant, and they see something outside, right? So that they lift for a little bit the shades, and the Doctor encourages the driver and the mechanic to look out, and they see something, and it starts to come towards them, and then. So after a little bit, the driver and mechanic are killed somehow, right? The cabin's completely ripped off, and there's someone going to come. And then whatever it is on the outside starts banging, and then the other tourists, we have a professor and his assistant, we have a woman who's just gone through a terrible breakup, and we have a family, a father, son, and mother, and then the hostess who never gets a name. She's the only character who does not have a name. Whatever's outside gets in and gets inside of the broken-hearted woman, and then starts to essentially make all the crew turn against each other, turn against the woman, turn against the Doctor, and in the end is saved by the unnamed woman, the hostess. She turns it all around and decides that she's gonna, because the Doctor is completely helpless at the end of this episode. Completely.
Yeah.
And he's saved by this unnamed woman.
The hostess sacrifices herself.
Yeah. She does.
I'm sorry. I hate this episode.
Yeah, and
this
Sky,
episode.
the broken-hearted woman, is already, from what we can tell, just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. And there are no answers at the end. He goes back to Donna, tells her what happened, and she tries to make a joke, and he just says, "Don't."
Yeah.
And that's and then they both look at each other, and a pin could drop, right? You can hear it. Yeah. And you guys said before this that you had to watch something else.
Yeah, afterwards.
Yeah.
It's such a dark episode.
You get a palate cleanser.
Yeah. I cried. I cried the first time I watched it, but I cried the second time too. Yes. It's just... I think the writing is excellent. I think the acting is superb. This is where we really get to see that Tennant knows what he's doing. We see him at his cheeriest in this episode. We see him...
At his most friendly, too.
As most friendly... and scared to death.
Oh, yeah.
Angry. Yes. Yes.
Which, he does angry all the time.
Yeah.
Scared's a little
Right.
little less frequent.
Yeah.
But also out of control. He loses control
completely
at one point.
of the situation, which we don't see that happen
ever.
Maybe,
like that.
yeah.
That's a new one.
It rarely happens. And if it does, even if we see it for a moment, it's just like a moment of the episode, and then he gets control again, or something happens. And this time he's companionless, he's helpless.
Yeah, he loses control, loses the faith of all the other people around him, and then ends up totally helpless and has to be saved by the sacrifice of another person,
a stranger,
yeah,
who didn't even really like him in the first place.
Yeah.
Like her first interactions with him
did
are not
care.
pleasant.
Yeah, did not care for him.
Do you think he lost control because of the creature? Because it's getting in everyone's head? Do you think it got in his head a little bit?
I think that's what's left open. There's definitely a creature there. We don't ever. So that's the other thing I like about the simplicity of this episode. It's all taking place almost in a single room.
Yeah.
There's like the cabin, and then there's the resort. There are 2 other rooms that we see, but that's about it. It's almost all in a single room, the whole hour, and we never see a creature, ever. Even when we get to see the outside, we know that there's a creature out there because the mechanic sees it and describes it, which is this sort of Greek element, like in Greek theater, where we don't see the horrible things. They're described to us, and that makes it all the more frightening.
Right.
The acting by the actress that plays Skye too also deserves some, like,
oh yeah,
she's
she is
fantastic.
Yeah, and terrifying.
Yes. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of paranoia, and so the question is the paranoia created by that creature, or is it just because of the presence of a foreign body, because of an alien in the room, literal alien, but also I mean that, and I think this episode's about gender and is about race in a way that the Doctor often is. Like, the Doctor episodes usually that they touch on that, but I think this episode's about that too.
How so?
Well, so one, the only characters that seem to get what's happening are the 2 black women.
True.
Dee Dee and then eventually the hostess. Now, they're not immune. They're not immune to whatever paranoia is happening.
Yeah, because it's the hostess who first suggests that they start throwing people out the door.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah,
But
sacrifice.
she's the one that ultimately recognizes the humanity in the Doctor and recognizing that the inhumanity in the alien in Skye's body, or in theory in Skye's body. Again, we're given we don't know the name of this creature. We don't know the physics behind it. The Doctor never says any of that to us, and he might not know. Yeah, he's just scared to death. Which, to me, one of the reasons, I think, on a practical matter, this is the only time... Other times when the Doctor is, he might die, but we all know he's just going to regenerate. In this case, if that sunlight is the way it is, I don't know how he could regenerate from that. He couldn't.
This would be it. Because he would die, and they've always established that if you kill him during a regeneration, then the Doctor dies. Oh, and so throw him out in the exotonic sunlight, he turns into dust, and well, you can't,
There's nothing. So he really
would die.
Could have died, and is saved by this hostess. So again, and then Dee Dee early on, though she's belittled by the other characters almost the entire time. Only first the Doctor, and then when the Doctor can't speak, it is the hostess that says, "Let her speak." Which is why this feels a little bit. It's about gender and race to me. Like, that Dee Dee constantly gets interrupted. She constantly, and even when she says something that is logical and gives her her accreditation, right? So she talks about her father, and she's a trained scientist herself. They always everyone dismisses it.
Yeah.
Including the person the Professor Hobbs, I think is his name, which now I realize is also a reference to a philosopher, right? So
Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. Yeah, Professor Hobbs, that is precisely his name. So he spends the most time with her, and he also just, like, treats her as, like, an assistant. She's getting his coffee. Like, yeah.
And she's even talking at one point about how she's grateful for that, because he noticed her at all.
Right.
Like, her very small, not opinion of herself, she knows what she's worth, but she also seems to know what she can expect from the world as well.
Right.
Like,
well, that's the thing. All the humans keep changing their minds, and that's one of the things, like, if there's a message to the episode, I think it's how dangerous human beings are, and how we turn on each other.
See, you can make this episode literary, and I, having heard a little bit, like, I do get what you're saying, but to me, it's always going to be the cautionary tale of humans are the most dangerous creature on the show. We're always the most dangerous creature on the show.
It's like a mob mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put us in a room, help's on the way, help's there in 1 hour. They have to sit there for 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And
can't do it.
Yeah, within seconds, they want to take this appearingly harmless woman. I mean, like, she's weird, she's creepy.
Right.
She has not made any physical move to harm anyone.
Mm-hmm.
She's sitting in a corner, she can't move her own body.
Right.
Oh,
and she's just mimicking people.
Yeah,
that's all she's doing.
And from within seconds, no, throw her out the door.
Yeah.
Kill her. Get rid of her. Like,
it's different. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's different. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, so she's like, we have to murder her.
Right.
And the sad thing is that I really do, like, that really is how people are.
Yeah. No.
Is that if you make people afraid, that they'll do anything, and they will cajole each other into doing anything. Oh, because you get the wife calling her husband, well, what kind of man are you?
Right,
and,
yes, again,
because he's not
gender.
willing to kill someone.
Right.
You know,
and that's
like,
what sends him over the edge, too.
yeah, like, because he can't deal with the idea that his masculinity's been questioned because he doesn't want to murder someone.
The professor, too.
Yeah,
same thing. So he's logical, right? He's the academy. He holds out for a while, but it is when his masculinity is threatened that he, too, will switch. No, I think you're absolutely right. Like, that's the real monster in that room was all the humans, which is what they all fully realize. And then when the doctor asks if anyone got her name,
does anybody know the hostess' name?
How
it's kind of like a slap in the face for everyone.
Right? Yeah, which they fully deserve. Like,
immediately the wife, when she realizes that she was the loudest voice yelling for them to murder the doctor, and they realize that they've made a mistake. The doctor isn't the one who who was dangerous. If anybody was dangerous at all in this episode, Well,
I mean, Skye does try to encourage them to throw the doctor out.
Yes, at the very end,
true. Or the alien inside Skye.
Yeah. At the very end, she does prove to be not particularly harmless.
I mean, she also the driver and the mechanic are also murdered by whatever. But again, we don't know. Did the alien do that, or was there some sort of other kind of disaster? I mean, because they're going through another. They're going through the Witch's Pass or something. Like, I mean, they had to detour because of some sort of natural disaster. Maybe something else hit the.
I had never caught that the first time that I watched it, that they weren't on. So this tour had been running because the professor says he's been on this tour 14 times before.
Yeah.
So this tour is run with no real problem, hundreds of times. But this time there was some sort of like something blocked their normal path, and the computer works out an alternate route. So it's the first time anybody's been in this area of the planet.
Right.
And so you get that aspect. So maybe, like the car just stops, it shuts down, they can't figure out why it stopped, which you're sort of led to believe, okay, maybe these creatures or creature is doing this.
We're unclear how many there are.
But you don't know for sure that that's what happened.
Also, there shouldn't be a creature.
Yeah.
Like, if they are correct in their physics, right, there's nothing that could be able to survive in that light. Unless maybe it's like Steven Universe crystal creatures or something.
Or something that literally evolved there in the exotonic light, which is something the doctor points out too. I know that your definition of what is life doesn't operate, but that doesn't mean there isn't something out there.
This is also, I mean, from the very beginning, we find out that there are certain interpretations, certain lenses, certain perspectives that the humans have taken that are incorrect, right? So that are just logically incorrect. The sapphire waterfall is not sapphires at all. I think so the doctor talks about this. He talks about what the planet's chemical makeup is, so they wouldn't be sapphires. I think he said something that are closer to diamonds or something like that. But that's the words that we use for it, because it just describes it better for humans. And that's typically what, like, a lot of what's happening in this episode is things aren't what they seem. But they're close enough to like put them into a category, right? That Sky is dangerous, or
Or-
that we're all in danger, or the Doctor is dangerous. Even the Doctor falls into it. They ask him what his credentials are. All he can come up with is I'm clever.
Which is, like I said, when he loses control.
Yeah.
That's the moment he loses control.
And but that's a label. That's another label. It's not a correct label.
Well,
That's
yeah.
yeah. And they immediately pick up. Well, are you trying to say that we're not clever? And what he needed to say, right? What he doesn't want to say is that he's also alien, because maybe he fears that like they're just any alien they're just going to throw out.
Yep.
But these are humans on an alien planet. It probably would have been okay to say,
I'm a Time Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you would think, right?
You would think, but no,
Except-
he mislabels himself,
yeah.
and so it goes bonkers from there.
Yeah. Because he never regains control of the situation from that moment on.
No, yeah, he never does, and that's what almost kills him.
Yeah.
Almost ends up in his death. So one of the things. So in addition, this is like 12 Angry Men, right? So we have everything's in one single room. It's about racism. It's about them deciding someone's fate.
Oh my God, there's so many socio-political, racial undertones in this episode.
Absolutely. And then in addition to that, we were talking about right before. So Dee Dee quotes from Christina Rossetti, a British poet, Goblin Market, which is, to me, when I first watched this episode, I thought, well, it's kind of it feels superficial. So Goblin Market is shrouded in a lot of mystery, and it's of fascination to women and gender studies. Christina Rossetti had a lot of suitors, but she never marries. This is late 19th century. Goblin Market is about two sisters, but they're two sisters that they never mention they live alone, and they don't mention anything about the parents. So there's all this question of, are they sisters? Are they lovers? And one of them goes to Goblin Market,
which is interesting because Sky mentions that her lover is female. It's not the first time we've had a gay character, is it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so at all.
Yeah, no, of course not, because we've got freaking Jack. So Captain Jack. So
yeah, right, exactly. No, it's definitely not the first time. But so having Christina Rossetti in there, we're already kind of emphasizing a little bit more of this feminism. The characters, and it's also a cautionary tale. If we just take it at its bare level, one of the girls goes to the Goblin Market. The fruits are exotic. The fruits are odd. They're weird. And the goblins essentially rape her and squeeze juices into her mouth. Right? She becomes a fallen woman, and then her sister, again, they keep using she literally does use the word sister, saves her, right? And so there's this Christian overtone to it, too, despite there's all these other, is this a cautionary tale about don't trust strange men? Is it a cautionary tale of don't trust men at all? At the end of the poem, they are married again. They each have married. And they have children of their own and daughters that they're worried about, right? So there's all these different levels. And so the more I thought about it, and I reread Goblin Market to think about that more, is so this episode is it's a cautionary tale, but I think it's a cautionary tale with multiple layers.
Yeah.
Right? In the same way that Goblin Market, it's about men, it's about fae folk, you had mentioned that too. It's about our own desires, and then the way that they can twist something up.
And our own prejudices.
And our own prejudices.
The way that we view the people around us and interpret what that threat poses to us.
Yeah. And then our multiple opinions within ourselves, because not one of those characters had a single. All of them constantly changed their mind, right? Yeah. So Dee Dee was at the same time probably the most observant of all of them, and also the most, self-deprecating.
Yeah.
The professor was logical on one hand, but also a misogynist. Jethro was open to these new ideas, but also deeply afraid, and
young and old at the same time.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, all of them.
Very resentful of his family and very dependent on his parents and their opinions. He was He was more complicated than I gave him credit for.
I think so too.
He's my favorite person on the boat, aside from the Doctor.
I think so. Yeah, I think that they're just multiple layers, and then
the parents are very one-dimensional.
Yes.
Yeah.
The parents do suck, except for that. So there's that misogyny is actually kind of trapped both parents, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't about black versus white and male versus female. It's about how all of them have woven and bought into these same prejudices, and that's what keeps them there. That's what sticks.
Yeah, because the parents are your quintessential white, middle class, suburban married couple.
Right. Distrustful of academia, distrustful of women, distrustful of black people, not trusting of their own son.
Yeah.
Right. So they constantly belittle him.
She acts out of panic.
Yeah.
Not just fear, just panic.
Panic, yeah.
Like there's something in front of her right now that's scaring her, and she wants to get rid of it.
It's gotta go.
Yeah. And also Sky. We have not talked about Sky, so we get a little less time with her, as human her. Obviously, the actress gets to be the devil her too, the goblin her.
Wait, before we change, so the poem that the little bitty bit of the poem that she actually says in the episode, you could take it very literally too. Because what she's talking about is, or the last line, you do not know what ground their thirsty roots have fed on, or I'm saying that wrong, but meaning the planet, meaning we can't trust anything because this planet is completely foreign to us, because we
you can't trust the foreign. No, I think that's right. And the fruits are usually, in the poem, are very clearly about sexuality, it seems, or emotion, or passion. And how dark and scary all that is. Right, so Sky is the most vulnerable, right? That's one thing that if we're told anything about this alien creature, is that it gets inside, that seems clear, and it gets inside Sky, and then eventually gets inside the Doctor. And that one thing that the Doctor, or Dee Dee, I can't remember which one of them had worked it out, is that she was the most fearful. She panicked.
Jethro's the one who figures out that
he's the most clever person on the boat, aside from the Doctor. Like he's always like picking up things and noticing things, figuring things out.
I think Dee Dee is still the most clever, and the host. I mean, the hostess is the only one in the midst of true fear and manipulation. I mean, the alien tries. She's the only one that stands up, and then sacrifices herself.
You say stand up. I see she picked her target.
Yeah. You could interpret it that way.
Maybe.
Like she really the Doctor's not the one doing this. This thing's doing it. Let's kill her.
Because she's the first. She is the one who let's kill it.
That is true. That is true.
I never saw it as her saving the Doctor. I saw it as her killing the creature.
See, I disagree. Because she keeps talking about she's using his words, right? Because she was so bitter and cynical when she first met the Doctor. Like, he's so excited about this trip, and she's just over it.
Yeah.
She had no connection with him, no human connection with him at all. But it was those same words, it was the Allons-y, that she's like, that's how she recognized the humanity in the Doctor, and that what was happening to him right now was not him. That this alien was in Sky still.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I mean, she does choose a target, but she sacrifices herself to do it. It isn't I gotta throw somebody out. It's I gotta make certain that I save him. I think I see her truly connecting with that Doctor, or connecting with the Doctor that she had met when they first got on the boat or on the train. I see it as an act of compassion.
I mean, I'll give you like her sacrificing herself to kill the creature, but I also see that as just more of a tell than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of like in Harry Potter, you have Barty Crouch Jr. with this little tongue flick, and like if you look and you notice, like, oh, you're not actually Moody, you're Barty Crouch. That's the same thing to me. Like, oh, the Doctor used this word, she used the word. That's to me, not so much as some deeper connection or some personal thing for the Doctor. It's more like she picked up on a detail.
Yeah.
So then is that a momentary decision that I'm not going to watch them murder this man that I've just realized is the victim. Yeah, the victim.
Is the ultimate victim.
Yeah. Or is that, because I mean you can't call it survival, because she goes with her when she takes Sky out. Or is she thinking, because she, in the beginning when she says we've got to throw him out, her argument is that if Sky is infected, that's the word that they use, infected.
That's right, yeah.
We can't bring her back to humanity. Like we can't bring her back to and the doctor's like, no, I can protect.
No.
Like
Right.
once we get back, I can stop this from spreading or whatever. And she's like, you don't know that you can do that.
She also mentions like her prime objective is the safety of the passengers.
Yeah, like
Like when they're all yelling, arguing, she's like, my duty is to the people here.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's true. I mean, she is the hostess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's taking her job to
Yeah.
the
an
extreme
extreme,
level.
but then again, the other passengers pushed her to that. Like she's not going to convince
it's the
them
only
to
way,
stop.
yeah.
She's not going to convince them to stop murdering someone now. Like
Right.
uh,
No, yeah, no one was able to convince anybody
Yeah,
of
'cause
anything other than
Jethro's-
violence.
yeah, Jethro has given up at that point. He realized his family can't be argued with.
he's the last one.
Yeah, and Dee Dee is still trying to to talk them out of it. But
Yeah. I mean, she's leaned towards murdering the doctor too.
yeah,
But she was, she seemed to me the most reticent. And Jethro was reticent, but then when he was for it, he
yeah,
he
which
goes and
is,
grabs him.
it says that's right. Yeah, it says something about, I mean, he was innocent, right? He was clear-eyed as the youth are, but then he eventually falls into the same step as his.
As mom starts screaming at him and he can't seem to
Right.
stop himself.
Yeah.
He's just as afraid as they are.
I mean, it's generally just like the mom.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Oh yes, right, yeah.
Yeah, if she'd thrown herself out of like to save everything,
Yeah.
it still would not have been enough to redeem her character.
Oh,
Like,
she wouldn't have though.
Yeah, exactly.
hostess
That's the
would
whole
have.
point. Like, is that she wouldn't have.
The hostess was the only that after Sky has died, the hostess really, she had that genuine. I mean, they all had a connection with the doctor. He chatted with all of them.
Yeah. Which is something that he orchestrated too. He, he shuts down
and
all
those
of the
distractions.
entertainment, yeah, so that he could connect with everyone on this trip.
Which the episode is like that too. The episode doesn't give us any of the sci-fi distractions
Yeah.
about what this really is about. We don't see any strange, beautiful monsters or creepy
Yeah.
It's all just these humans in a room, a very simple room, low budget.
Dark episode.
Midnight, in fact, midnight black.
Bite me.
I don't enjoy this episode, but I will say it's very well written.
Yep.
Very well acted. Like, it does make me feel things. It's just that thing of anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't enjoy.
Well, I think that's one of the points. So we've talked about Tennant being the angry doctor. Sky is angry. She's just gone through this, and when
Yeah, she's still super bitter, even
she's
as a human.
very bitter,
There's
and then
something weird going on with her too.
a little bit. Well, I think yes, because right before she gets taken over, her anger was, this isn't supposed to be like this. This is not a part of the plan. Which it seems to be about her vacation, but it's also seeming about her
She
life
also-
plan.
Yeah, she says a line like that her ex said that she would get her. How this is her doing. How did she do this? Like
Right.
she's coming for me.
That darkness, that paranoia,
Yeah.
that distrust of other humans.
Yeah.
And the doctor, he only folds to this creature, whatever it is, after he also has kind of lost himself. He's angry at the other human. Like,
Good point.
that's when she gets inside of him.
Yeah.
Because he yells, and then they keep arguing, but she stops repeating everyone else.
It's
he
just
I
yeah.
didn't catch that.
Because she has zoomed in on him at that point. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's because he's the Time Lord, and I don't think it's because he's clever.
Right.
I think
No,
it's because
he lost control.
he had lost control,
Yeah.
and he started to distrust everybody.
Yep.
And so whatever that creature is can get this dark, because it was a shadow. The only thing it was called was a shadow.
Shadow,
Yeah.
And that's
Hey, some serious commentary on like the frailty of human and the baggage we all carry around and how prone we
Yeah.
are to violence. Because like you hear stories in history of blah blah blah. Them, for instance, burning small children at the stake because they believed they were witches, and you wonder
Right.
how anyone could ever have done that. How
Right.
could they possibly have done that? And then you watch an episode like this, and you're like, oh, that's how we did that.
It's exactly how they did that.
That's
Yeah.
how this happened.
Yeah, which is I think why we had to have we had to have the Doctor without Donna in this episode. Yeah. He could not be with her.
No, yeah, he couldn't. He would never have lost control like that.
He wouldn't have. Yeah. He would have felt loved. He would have felt trusted.
So, yeah.
Everyone in that room, and so except for the hostess. So the hostess is also alone. The Doctor's alone. Sky's alone. The hostess is alone. The other ones have come here with people.
Yeah.
And that was their undoing. But for the hostess, it was the way that she got to untangle herself from that mess of that human relationships that the others were getting tangled up in, and separate herself and realize what she had to do.
Yeah. You could almost say do her job.
Right. No, she had to. She had to do her job. And the same with the Doctor. He's the Doctor. Like, that's his. It is in part his job.
Yeah. But a lot of how the Doctor views himself comes from his companion. It's why he never does well traveling alone.
Yeah.
So an episode like this, where he does not have that companion to look up to him and, hey, you can do this. I believe in you. Like, I know you're gonna save us. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is of course when he would stumble and fall,
and almost die.
Yeah.
Maybe forever. Yeah. Yeah. But it's the same thing that also makes us weak. That connection. Sky's connection to her ex.
True.
The Professor and Dee Dee's connection to each other is what makes, like, she's caught in this codependent relationship.
Yep, yeah.
The family is clearly codependent.
Oh, yeah.
Jethro would be better off.
Oh yeah, way better off.
Biff might be better off. Like,
yeah.
Like, he has those moments where he's telling that joke where he seems like, where he realizes, I don't remember what the precise joke was, but the point was that there was a metaphorical pool or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we see some intelligence in him. Then we see some thought that disappears, and he just goes right to the sort of white middle class male perspective almost immediately, which is right
into that toxic masculinity idea that that you're only a man if you're willing to do violence kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's love and connection is the saving grace, but also like it's not as simple as that. Like so it is a cautionary tale, but the cautionary tale, like, I don't know if there's a simple answer to it.
Here's your moral of the story. Go on with your life. Yeah, there's not really that. Although, like, it is worth pointing out that when the Doctor says, like, they're all sort of conversing, the idea has come up to toss Sky out of the out into this deadly sunlight. The Doctor, like, spells that out. Are you gonna pick this person up and kill them? Like, could you really do that? And where everyone else hesitates, the hostess is the first one who says, "Yeah, I could do that."
Yeah, and she will be the one to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, at the end of the episode. Yeah. Right. So violence is also kind of the saving grace. Do you see what I mean? Like, how complex this is. It's like, okay, so this isn't about connection, just connection. It isn't about just loneliness. It isn't about no violence. It's I mean, I do think it's about compassion. I think that's the one thing that the Doctor was trying to encourage the entire time. And I do think that the hostess, though choosing a violent action, was doing it from that's how I make sense of it. And that's why I cry, I think, is that the hostess finds it.
You have to view it as a compassionate action, because if it was just violent, she could have just shoved her out the door. She didn't have to hold her.
No, she wanted to make certain.
And so in that respect, because it's not like Sky put up any physical fight. It's not like Sky tried to escape or anything like that.
And doesn't she keep her hand... Because there's 6 seconds before the shield breaks. But then as soon as she goes out, the door is closed again. I wonder if that's why she felt like she had to stay right there.
So that
when her hand was released from the knob,
the door would close and save everyone else, which has to be viewed as a compassionate act, because she was willing to sacrifice her own life in order for this to happen. Whereas the others were just planning on violence.
Hitting the door, throwing her out. Yeah, maybe hitting the button again.
I like how we view it differently.
Yeah.
Like I think because I dislike the hostess so much that I don't see the compassion in it.
Oh, yeah.
Just because she was the first one to suggest violence.
She was very cynical. I mean, she's cynical throughout almost all of it.
I can't go cynical. Like, at the beginning, she's, like, doing her job. Like, whatever, I've been on this trip a billion times. You said some... Whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, when things starts getting real, she's like, let's kill him.
Yeah.
Not like, let's lock him up somewhere, or let's just stay away from her. Just her first instinct is, let's kill them.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't a choice to lock her up. There's only that one room at that point.
You get tired to a chair or something.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Though she might have been the thing that ripped off the whole cabin.
Cabinet, yeah, so.
And it's like, there was definitely an option there where they could have just stayed away from her and kept quiet.
Yeah,
for an
because
hour.
it was only an hour.
It was only an hour.
They only had to sit there for an hour.
They knew it was repeating, so like, if you didn't say anything, it can't repeat you, maybe we'll be fine. But it's like, no, let's kill it.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just lost all respect for her.
Yeah.
And that just changed how I viewed her actions for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right, too. Which is one of the things that I thought was so, like, each of the characters are showing so many sides to themselves.
Yeah.
On top of, like, just the feat of the actors, right? The actress that plays Skye, especially, and obviously David Tennant. Like, the practical matter of getting her to repeat all those things. Like,
oh my god, jeez, right?
And even that moment where it's the slow, like, she's always repeating, and then it slowly gets closer and closer and closer.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so practically, obviously, like, there's a great complexity in the way the actors can portray these characters. But in the writing, too. That's why I think that the hostess is supposed, like, I think she also has that dual feature, which we don't really see until the very end. She was pretty singular in purpose this entire time.
That's fair.
Until that last moment, where if you want to say she just thought of herself as fulfilling her duty or fulfilling her job, I think that'd be okay too. To me, it's just that when she kept repeating, those are his words. Like, it humanizes the doctor. She's using his words. She's stolen. I think she says the word stolen.
Yeah, she's stolen his voice.
Right, which for a black woman to be saying that to me, again, that feels important. It's the same way that Dee Dee's voice is constantly being not being heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of just random note. I love the only part that made me chuckle in like the entire episode is then everyone's yelling at her, like, why is she repeating? Make her stop. Like, everyone's saying make her stop, and Dreadthrow is like just saying silly things.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
So
that. Just making her say weird.
666, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, just to see if she'll get up.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
This is my favorite part of the whole episode. Like, cause
Yeah, that's right. He's not afraid.
Yeah.
He's not. Well, not until the end.
See, my favorite part of the only part of the episode that I like is Donna and his conversation on the phone at the beginning. They're like two friends talking, like, no, I don't want to go, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, fine. And even when he said, like, it's no fun if I see it on me own. No, and he does actually say it that way, which makes you laugh too. The me own.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we'll try that whole anti-grav restaurant with Bibs.
Yeah. You're right. That's the only little bit of comedy, isn't
it? Yeah, because then she's like, it's a date. Well, not a date. Oh, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Get off. It's the only part of that whole episode I like is seeing them be,
which is why they can't have Donna with him on to get that scene.
I know,
they could not have Donna in there.
Yeah, true. Can't do it.
As brilliant as Catherine Tate is as an actress too, I think, but it just the characters couldn't have had that same dynamic.
Yeah. No, because the doctor would not have fallen apart with Donna there. No, he wouldn't have.
Or she would have been able to explain things to them better. I mean, that family is her family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Except for her grandfather.
Well,
her grandfather is one of the most exceptionally kind people I've ever...
Oh, Wilfred.
I've ever seen portrayed as a character.
Yes.
Like, especially a masculine character. Because he's like the exact opposite... He is the exact opposite of the toxic masculinity you see in Biff. Right. Is Wilfred, is Will.
Yeah.
Is, kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
And
Rory and his father are pretty, but that'll be later, but yeah.
I mean, seems like we're talking about companions. I think next we'll start talking about the companions in depth. Yes. We're going to go in depth on one, then so on.
And we'll start with Rose. We'll do her first.
Yeah.
Yep. So next time, I am a doctor talking about good old Rose Tyler.
Mm-hmm. Rose Tyler.
All right. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For listening.
Yeah, whichever.
Podcast.
See you later.
Bye.